Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Hearthstone Rise of Shadows reveal season continues, and today we got 7 new cards to review. So let's go check them out. These are the cards that were revealed today. So we have a new Warlock Legendary card, we have Hecklebot, a new sort of Dirty Ratish card, we have a pair of new Shaman cards for Control Shaman, Walking Fountain and Muck Morpher, we have a new Secret Paladin Legendary in Commander Risa, and we have a couple of maybe Tempo Mages card with Ray of Frost and Mana Cyclone. And let's go take a look at each of these in detail. First up, the new Warlock Legendary Demon, Fellord Betrog, an 8 mana 5/7 demon with an effect: whenever you draw a minion, summon a copy with Rush that dies at the end of turn. You would love to use this with something like Death Rattle minions or something pretty interesting. Then you would have to be able to draw exactly those cards, and then they would have Rush, so you could use them to clear some boards, and then they would die and activate whatever effects they have. But the thing is that you can't really control your draws that well. And we already have an excellent example of this. Dollmaster Dorian, remember this legendary card, but still in standard format. Whenever you draw a minion, summon a 1/1 copy of it. This card doesn't see any play. And neither will Fellord Betrog, because controlling your draws to the extent that you're going to get draws of specific cards, that's just way too difficult. There are in principle, some fun things that you could do with Fellord, like you could use the Solarium with that, and you would get copies of those cards, and you could use another Warlock meme level legendary, Dr. Morrigan, 8 mana 5/5 Death Rattle, swap this with a minion from your deck, so then the swap happens and you get a permanent minion from your deck, but in practice Fellord is completely unplayable. We were promised a new combo disruption tool akin to Dirty Rat. I'm not sure if this is the card that the developers were referring to when they have talked about this, but I hope it's not. Anyway, Hecklebot, a neutral mech, 4 mana 3/8 with Taunt and Battlecry. Your opponent summons a minion from their deck. So this is kind of a hybrid between Dirty Rat, which forces the opponent to summon a minion from their hand, and Deathlord, which summons a minion from the opponent's deck upon death. And Dirty Rat was an excellent combo disruption tool. You wait and you wait until the last possible moment before your opponent is about to unleash their combo. So they will have the combo card in hand, and they will have as few other cards in hand as possible. Then you Dirty Rat that out. Great going. With Hecklebot you're in a very different type of situation. The opponent must not have drawn the card that they want to draw. Yeah, that's not a good position to be at all. And you want to play this early, so that you would be able to get that card from their deck. If you wait until late, it's very probable they have already drawn it. And there are so many cards in your opponent's deck that it's very unlikely that you actually hit your card. So as a combo disruption tool, Hecklebot is abysmal. This is as much of a combo disruption tool as Nomeferatu. And as we know, Nomeferatu sometimes did disrupt combos, like 4% of the time or something. Yeah, it can do it. It's a terrible combo disruption tool, so it's not a Dirty Rat at all. However, it is kind of a Deathlord. And what did Deathlord do? Deathlord was an anti-aggro card. And Hecklebot is a great anti-aggro card. 4 mana, 3/8 Taunt. That's beautiful. Opponent summons a minion from their deck. Well, if it's an aggro deck, they don't have 2 big minions, so you're not giving them that much of an advantage. And this costs 4 mana. It curves out right into 5 mana Celiax, which can magnetize onto this. So what this card can really do, it can hurt some aggro decks. But if you play this against something like a mid-range deck, and you pull a 7 high main with this, then you feel very sorry. So there's that. It can also be a fatigue deck card as an anti-control card. You play a fatigue deck, you play Hecklebot. Haha, Hecklebot. Opponent gets closer to fatigue. Beautiful thinking. And combine this with something like a fatigue warrior type of deck, running Dr. Boom, and you discover more Hecklebots with your button. And then you're all like, ha, I just play these taunt minions out here and your deck gets thinner and thinner. So that's something that Hecklebot can do. It can be a great anti-aggro card, it can be a control deck card, fatigue deck card that ensures fatigue advantage, but it's not a Dirty Rat. It's not a combo disruption card at all. By blind luck it can sometimes disrupt a combo, but that's incredibly unlikely. Have I mentioned that Shaman is looking like the value grinder control class in this expansion? I have mentioned that like 10 times or something. And today we got a new Shaman card, and it's a common card too, so pretty good card for something like budget deck. 8 mana 4/8 elemental, Walking Fountain, with Lifesteal, Rush and Wind Fury. So you play this one on the board, it gets to attack twice and heal you up for 8. That is something that you want from a late game card, especially if you're playing a defensive deck, like something like Shaman with Hagata the Witch, grinding out that value. Walking Fountain, boom, heal up, kill stuff. Just compare this to something like Ziliax. It's an incredibly powerful card. Another interesting Shaman card came out. Muckmorpher, a 5 mana 4/4 battlecry, transform into a 4/4 copy of a different minion in your deck. So this is actually not a Muckmorpher at all, this is a Shadow Essence for Shaman in minion form. This does exactly what Shadow Essence does. So the question is just, can Shaman do something with that effect? And that's the big question. Because Shadow Essence was good because you were then able to resurrect that stuff. As Shaman you generally cannot. Well, there are stuff like Baleful Bankers, so you can shuffle stuff back into your deck, so you can even guarantee that Muckmorpher will pull something specific if you're able to banker it if it costs less than 9 mana. And maybe you could somehow set it up that Muckmorpher will give you some melee keys. Who knows? There are interesting combo potential with this card. But this card is not very suitable for what I believe will be the main control value grinder Shaman type, because it has a miserable anti-synergy with Shudderwock. Shudderwock's Battlecry repeat all other Battlecries from cards you played this game, and Shudderwock's Battlecry stops if Shudderwock is transformed. So Shudderwock is played, and it starts playing some Battlecries, and the moment it repeats the Muckmorpher Battlecry, it stops playing Battlecries. So Muckmorpher is not a card for this control grindy Shaman deck at all. There is potential to find some combo uses for this, I just haven't figured out what those uses are yet. Then this is an interesting one. It's a Gnome Paladin. You can't make a Gnome Paladin in World of Warcraft. What? What? Well, anyway, Commander Rissa. A 3 mana 4/3 Paladin Legendary. Why is every Paladin Legendary a good card? I don't know. Your secrets trigger twice. So this is a really interesting one. So secrets triggering twice, that really literally means that when your secret triggers, it triggers twice immediately. So stuff like Never Surrender, the new secret. Rissa and Never Surrender, that's incredible. When your opponent casts a spell, Never Surrender then would give all your minions 4 health. So Rissa will become a 4/7. It's pretty difficult to kill with spells. Noble Sacrifice. Noble Sacrifice procs twice immediately. So your opponent attacks and two 2/1s will spawn. One will of course block the attacker, the other one just hangs around. So it doesn't mean that you can block 2 attacks with Noble Sacrifice when you have Rissa on board. You will only block 1 attack and then you will get that extra minion. And then Redemption. Well, Redemption doesn't trigger twice if Rissa is killed. It cannot trigger Redemption if it's killed itself. But if something else dies, you have something on the way, it dies, 2 copies of it will be resummoned. But Rissa doesn't work nice with all secrets like Auto Defense Matrix. When one of your minions is attacked, give it Divine Shield. So it's given Divine Shield and it's given Divine Shield. And you can only have 1 Divine Shield, so Rissa actually doesn't do anything with Auto Defense Matrix. Still, it's a high stat, powerful minion, can work extremely well with a number of secrets. It will also be really interesting to see if the secret packages will start to be tailored for Rissa if you play Secret Paladin with Rissa in it. Some really, really powerful stuff here. Secret Paladin is definitely getting a bunch of new support. It looked like it was borderline viable, and now with these new tools that it's getting, it just might be strong enough to be played. Then we got a new mage spell, Ray of Frost. A 1 mana mage spell, it's a twin spell, okay, so you can cast it twice. Freeze a minion. If it's already frozen, deal 2 damage to it. So you can freeze a minion for 2 turns, or you can freeze 2 minions, or you can freeze a minion and deal damage to it. That doesn't sound too great, to be honest. I mean, stuff like Frostbolt. If it's a single minion that you're targeting, then Frostbolt does more for the same mana cost as casting Ray of Frost twice. In Blizzard video they were also talking about, hey, you can like Frost Nova and then cast 2 Rays of Frost to deal some damage to those Frost Nova minions. That card already exists in the game, it's called Blizzard, so I don't think that one's going to work out either. However, what this card might do, and the only potential use for it, is some kind of tempo mage deck that really wants to cast a lot of spells, and freezing is disruption. It is the definition of tempo. You're preventing your opponent from doing things. So you could play this together with something like a Vexcrow. And then you can get some minions on the board, you prevent your opponent from reacting to those, much like what Glacial Shard was able to do in a bunch of decks in the current metagame. There are not that many tempo disruption tools in Hearthstone, but this could be one. But it really needs something like, if it had like Flame Waker to go with it. Of course in Wild it does, then that would be interesting. In Standard we pretty much have the Vexcrow. So that's like the opening for Ray of Frost, and it's the only opening I see for this kind of spell. It needs support, it needs something that you want to cast a lot of spells for some purpose, and then this might be able to make way to your deck. And this other new reveal from today just might be that something that you want to cast a lot of spells for. Mana Cyclone. A mage epic card, a 2 mana 2/2 elemental with a battle cry. For each spell you have cast this turn, add a random mage spell to your hand. So let's say you have that Vexcrow, you have your Sorcerer's Apprentice, you have your Ray of Frost, you shoot around, you play Elemental Evocation too, you get a bunch of 2-drops. The Evocation makes your Mana Cyclone cost 0, so then you also play your Mana Cyclone on the board, and you get a bunch of random mage spells. Now, random mage spells on average are not that great. I mean, sure, there's AoE, there's some direct damage, but you need to get like 4 spells or something in order to get 1 piece of direct damage and 1 piece of area of effect damage. So you really can't count on that for reach. And it also might be that this package gets a bit too complicated with the evocations and Mana Cyclones, adding cards that don't really do that much immediately. But it's definitely possible to try to build some kind of a tempo mage deck around these pieces and see whether it can succeed. It doesn't look that strong right now, but it's something that would really need to be tested. So that kind of package today, pretty interesting stuff. A really bad Warlock card, a strange neutral anti-aggro fatigue type of card, then some Shaman support, Secret Paladin support, and some quite mysterious tempo mage support. There are still lots of more cards coming, and we need to see the full set to draw the final conclusions, but interesting stuff. I will be reviewing these cards every day, so remember to check back in for the future reviews. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.